Good evening. I'd like to call to order the meeting for Bedford Township for January 21st, 2020. Please stand for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Bob, if you'd open us up in prayer, please.
Shall we pray? Father God, we thank you for your presence here tonight. We pray, Father, that you would give the members of the board your wisdom, that they would be obedient to the leaning that you place on their hearts. We just pray that the conversation would be pleasing and acceptable in your sight, and we are just thankful for who you are. And now we pray these things in Christ's name. Amen.
Amen. Thank you very much. Okay, item A, a resolution to establish the Stonegate Subdivision Road Special Assessment District role. I look for a motion to open the public hearing.
So moved.
Okay, motion supported by Mr. Montry. Would you please call the roll?
Ms. Tinneberry?
Aye.
Mr. Montry?
Aye.
Mr. Clemens is absent. Mr. Steiner is absent. Mr. Francis is absent. Hirschberger votes aye. Mr. Peroni?
Aye, and the motion passed 4-0. If anybody would like to come up and speak about the Special Assessment District, you can do that now. Okay, seeing none, I look for a motion to close the public hearing.
I moved we close the public hearing.
Support.
Motion and support by Mr. Montry. Discussion? Seeing none, could you call the roll, please?
Ms. Tinneberry?
Aye.
Mr. Montry?
Aye.
Hirschberger votes aye. Mr. Peroni?
Aye, and the motion passed 4-0.
So attached, you'll find the resolution of the public hearing notice for the road improvement special assessment district for Stonegate subdivision. This is to approve the roll. The district was already approved at the meeting a few weeks ago. The whole estimate of the project is $259,600, which divided out per parcel is $2,200 per parcel. If there's no,
Yeah, okay, I do. I thought you were going to go on, I'm sorry. The percentage of signers?
it stayed the same
Oh,
above
it
the
stayed the same?
51. Mhm.
Okay.
So if there's no other questions, I'd like to make a motion that we approve the resolution to establish the Stonegate Subdivision Road Special Assessment District role as approved, or as presented.
Support.
Motion and supported by Mr. Montry. Discussion? Seeing none, could you call the roll, please?
Hirschberger votes aye. Mr. Montry?
Aye.
Ms. Tinneberry?
Aye.
Mr. Peroni?
Aye. The motion passed 4-0. If any of you would like to stay, feel free, but if you want to get up and leave now, don't feel bad, so
Yeah, wait.
Have a good night.
that's it.
What do you mean, don't feel bad? This is their civic moment.
They can stay, I just said it.
It's either this or the impeachment, which is better. You know, come on.
Okay. Item number 2 is approval of the agenda.
Move we approve the agenda as presented.
Support.
Okay, motion is supported. Discussion? Seeing none, could you call the roll, please?
Ms. Tinneberry?
Aye.
Mr. Montry?
Aye.
Hirschberger votes aye. Mr. Peroni?
Aye, and the motion passed 4-0. Item 3 is the consent agenda. The agenda committee recommends to A, approve and place on file the minutes of the January 7th, 2020 regular meeting of the Bedford Township Board. B, accept and place on file the general, savings, pooled funds, and CD reports from the treasurer. C, approve and place on file the revenue expense report and balance sheet for the period ending December 31st, 2019. D, appointment of Dennis Jenkins as a planning commission representative to the Board of Zoning Appeals. E, reappointment of Deborah Lucius to the Communications Media Commission for a second term ending 12/31/22. F, reappointment of Lori Welling to the Communications/Media Commission for a second term ending 12/31/22. G, reappointment of Dale Barton to the Communications/Media Commission for a term ending 12/31/22. H, accept with regret the resignation of Royce Manico from the Housing Commission, effective immediately.
Move we approve the consent agenda as presented.
Support.
Motion and supported by Mr. Montre. Discussion? Seeing none, could you call the roll, please?
Ms. Tinnerberry?
Aye.
Mr. Montroy?
Aye.
Hirschberger votes aye. Mr. Peroni?
Aye. And the motion passed 4-0. I haven't said that in months. I've been really,
Couldn't contain yourself.
I couldn't, man.
Haven't said what?
I said Montre, it's Montry.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, so.
Just livening it up.
Number 4, yeah. 4 is presentations. We have none. Number 5 is public comment. Comments limited to 2 minutes for board agenda items only. So come on up. You have a public comment? Okay, seeing none. We got on to number 6, staff reports. Accept and place on file the annual financial report for fiscal year ending 6/30/2019. Don McGuire with Ringo and Associates. Come on up.
Good evening. I trust that all the absences and everybody leaving isn't due to my exciting report.
Just talking closest to the mic as you can, but I don't know if you could pull it closer to you. I want everybody.
Okay, very good. First of all, the opinion on your financial statements was unqualified, which means that your financial statements are fairly presented in all material respects. And Bedford Township is in very good financial condition. Just call to your attention a few items. Your general fund had a balance of $3,361,000, which is a combined figure of the park and the general fund. Since the park has no specific revenues, it is combined with the general fund for your financial statements. Of that $3.3 million, $184,000 belongs to the park fund and $3.1 million belongs to the general fund. There was a total increase in the fund balance of $104,000, which is very good. And your fund balance represents 68% of your 2018-19 expenditures. And it's of interest to note that property taxes only represent 20% of your total general fund revenues. The largest balance comes from state of Michigan grants and shared revenue, and that provides 53% of your general fund operating money. Your sewer fund, which is a substantial fund, had operating revenue exceeding operating expenses by $1.4 million. And the sewer fund issued last year $22 million of debt. This is a 2% debt with the state of Michigan. And this is on a drawdown basis, which means you have to spend the money, submit for reimbursement, and you'll be reimbursed up to $22 million. At year end, there was some $17 million that had yet to be drawn down and spent. Your percentage of bill flows, which has been a recurring problem over the years, was down to 36%, which means the sewer treated more flows than we billed. We billed 36%. Now, I can't explain that. We only work with the numbers. That would be something more addressed to the engineer, and I don't know whether or not all the expansion and improvements that you're doing at the sewer would solve that or not. This would appear to me to be inflow and infiltration, which means There's stuff going through the sewer lines other than what we're billing for. Maybe cracked lines, leaks where water infiltrates. And Paul Francis would know much more about what's going on at the sewer since he's been involved with it in the county. Your building department, which is incorporated into the general fund now, had a cumulative positive balance of $303,000. And there is a corresponding reserve set up in the general fund for this because that can only be used for building activities. And it seems like there's quite a bit going on now, but the future it could reverse because it's gone up and down over the years. You had no new debt issued other than what was issued for the sewer fund, but you did retire general obligation debt of $441,000, and you retired sewer debt of $615,000. So a little bit over $1 million of debt was retired through the year. There are several special assessment funds that you are funding internally. Now, the way these are accounted for automatically creates deficit balances in these funds. And those will necessitate deficit elimination plans filed with the state, and you will probably be receiving a letter if you haven't already. Your other big funds were law enforcement fund, which had a fund balance of $135,000, and that decreased by some $3,000 over the year. Your fire fund has a fund balance of $1.1 million, and that decreased by some $67,000. Your new fire equipment fund has now a fund balance of $170,000, but it did expend on new equipment $366,000. On your retiree health insurance, you have an unfunded actuarial liability of $856,000. Now, that was reduced by some $41,000 in the prior year. And we have no separate trust fund established for this. We're on a pay-as-you-go basis. Now, this should ultimately be reduced to zero over time. Our costs are approximately $54,000 per year. That's about all the highlights that I wanted to go through. I'd be glad to answer any questions that anybody may have.
Hi, Ms. Canterbury.
Your comment, just the last comment you made about we have no trust fund established for the retirement, would you recommend that?
No,
Oh,
no, not at this point in time. You're it's a self-eliminating plan. So long as you can afford the approximately $54,000 a year, our costs do not go up. They will only go down over a period of time and eventually be eliminated. So I see. Unless you just happen to have $854,000 laying around you'd like to put aside.
if we did, I'd put it in the capital improvement fund. So, okay, I understand what you're saying, that it's going to be eliminated over the years like all of us, right?
Yes.
And then I had one other question, if that's all right. You mentioned, sorry, find my note here. You mentioned the 68% of that our fund balance is 68% of our revenue or what?
Our expenditures
Our
last year.
expenditures?
Yes.
Okay. So, the recommendation, my understanding over the years has been 3 months and a cap at 6 months. This is over 6 months. So is there a penalty? Does the state
No,
keep
the
track of that?
state would probably be proud of you.
Proud of us. Well, okay, I could be wrong, but I thought that we weren't supposed to accumulate more money than we need because the taxpayers have paid that money in and they want to see it be used. They don't want to see it go into a savings account.
Right, there are some state-provided guidelines that I've heard, but there are various guidelines.
Okay,
Yes, you should closely spend what you take in, but you're only taking in 20% from direct taxes in
Right.
this case.
right.
It's the state providing the largest balance of our funding.
Okay, well, maybe the rest of that is buying taverns and making money off of that. Maybe that's just part of it. Thank you.
Is there any other questions?
Just comment.
Any other questions? I don't have any. Thank you.
Yeah, I have one question, because Mr. France and I were talking the other day about funding the fire station, the $700,000, and it's been alluded that we don't have the funds to pay cash for it. We're gonna need to possibly bond that project, and I hear we have $3.1 million.
Well, that was your fund balance.
I don't
It's not in the
understand.
fire fund. That's the fund balance in our general fund, that's
Oh, I
not.
know, but I'm saying,
How much was
Well-
there in the fire
And the fire fund,
balance?
cash and cash equivalents were $1.1 million.
That's what they have, 1.1.
The
But
fund balance
but I'm
was
saying
slightly
that-
less.
all right,
But overall, your cash from general, fire, water, and all your smaller funds came to $6.4 million total year end, plus whatever the sewer had in it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you, appreciate it. Anybody else have any comments or questions?
No, thanks, Don.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming.
Do we want a motion to accept and place on file?
I look for a motion.
I move we place the annual financial report on file. And actually, that's all we have to do since it's an approved audit, so place it on file with the clerk.
Support. Motion supported by Mr. Montry. Try. Discussion? Seeing none, could you call the roll, please?
Ms. Tinnevery?
Aye.
Mr. Montry?
Aye.
Hirschberger votes aye. Mr. Peroni?
Aye, motion passed 4-0. Item number 8, vouchers for payment. Searchberger.
I'd like to make a motion that the following vouchers be approved for payment. General Fund, $217,096.17. Fire District, $20,232.21. Police Fund, $106,672.09. Park Fund, $57,729.53. Library Fund, $3,622.56. Water Revenue Fund, $962.66. Springbrook SAD, $346.50. Downtown Development Authority, $2,111.94. Sewer O&M Fund, $445,001.19. Trust and Agency Fund, $1,340, for a grand total of $855,114.85.
I move we approve the,
I have the motion.
She's
I
the mo-
need a
she's the
second.
oh, I second it.
Okay, motion supported by Ms. Turnerberry. Discussion? Seeing none, could you call the roll, please?
Hirschberger votes aye. Ms. Tinneberry?
Aye.
Mr. Montroy?
Aye.
Mr. Peroni?
Aye, and the motion passed 4-0. Item 8B, appointment of Michael Fisher to the Housing Commission for a partial term ending 12/31/2020. Mr. Fisher's been eager to get on the committee for some time now. His daughter lives in the community over there and really wants to get involved, so I think Mike would be a really good fit.
So is that your motion?
I'll make a motion, we approve Michael Fisher to the Housing Commission for a term ending 12/31/2020.
Support.
Okay, motion is supported by Ms. Tinberry. Discussion? Seeing none, could you call the roll, please?
Mr. Peroni?
Aye.
Ms. Tinneberry?
Aye.
Mr. Montroy?
Aye.
Hirschberger votes aye.
And the motion passed 4-0. Item C, appointment of Dennis Harris and Benjamin Amos as alternates to the Board of Review for a first term ending 12/31/21. Mr. Matlow recommended these two individuals, and
Oh, well then,
they could be a good fit. You making a motion?
sure. I move that we appoint Dr. Dennis Harris and Benjamin Amos to the Board of Review for a 2-year term as alternate members.
Support.
Okay, motion is supported by Ms. Hirschberger. Discussion? Seeing none, could you call the roll, please?
Ms. Tinneberry?
Aye.
Hirschberger votes aye. Mr. Montroy?
Aye.
Mr. Peroni?
Aye, the motion passed 4-0. Item 8D, approve the MCRC contract for Stonegate Subdivision Special Assessment District.
Presented is from the Monroe County Road Commission. It's the township portion, $251,500, and Monroe County Road Commission's portion, $3,600, for a total of $255,100. I'd make a motion that we approve the Stonegate Subdivision Special Assessment District contract with the Road Commission as presented.
Support.
Okay, motion is supported by Ms. Tinneberry. Discussion?
I have some discussion. I can't possibly let this meeting go before 7:30 because Craig is always bragging about his short-term stuff, so,
Just get things done.
yeah. You're just sitting there, not even making a motion. So just to clarify, like I don't know, this $255,000 will be reimbursed by the Stonegate subdivision, since it is a special assessment.
Correct. The 251.5 will, the Road Commission is throwing in the 3,600.
Okay, so the residents don't have to pay that?
Correct.
Oh, well, that's nice of them. I'm going to send them a thank you letter. Okay, that's all my discussion.
Could you call,
Just one more thing, just so the residents don't get confused, because we approved the contract for a higher amount than this. This does not have all the engineering this agreement and any other costs that are associated with this. So that is the cost that we approved. It may come in less, but that is the maximum it can come in. According to this, it's not going to come in the 10% higher either, because they've already given us a contract for less.
Right, okay, good. Well, then I do have another question. So that 20,000 that the township up fronts for
That's
that,
not included in here. We've
Okay.
used some of that.
and the policy is once it's approved, then we get that back.
Correct.
Okay.
could you call the roll, please?
Hirschberger votes aye. Ms. Tinneberry?
Aye.
Mr. Montroy?
Aye.
Mr. Peroni?
Aye, the motion passed 4-0. Item 8E, approve a bid for the HVAC project at the Bedford Branch Library. Mr. Montroy?
All right, so Library Advisory Board, working on projects for the millage, working on the HVAC controls project that went out for bid. Bids came back. We had presentations before and after bids. And the Library Advisory Board, as you can see in your packet, accepted and recommend the bid from Wadsworth. And then they said they still needed to send a contractor's license, wasn't included. Says library board voted unanimously to recommend to the township board the Wadsworth, including option 1, to increase efficiencies. So, going through these, the option 1 is a lighting controls. The entire bid is, like, as you see going through, is for the HVAC controls of the library, and then option 1 is for to integrate lighting into those controls. So they're recommending Wadsworth, from my understanding, as the lowest bidder, and in the option 1 being even like also the low bid on that, and getting that the lighting controls included with that total. Personal opinion, if you remove the lighting from, in the option 1 from this bid, I was, after initial presentations, my personal opinion was the CSO, Control Systems Ohio, was a substantially better presentation, looked like long-term savings, usability, just overall, my opinion was that they were night and day better than the other companies, and if they were going to bid in the general range, is who I was planning on, who I thought we would recommend. Now, that was HVAC only, so they're $4,000 higher than Wadsworth on the HVAC. So the decision to this board is, well, I guess we'll open it up for, is there questions on any of this?
We met for some time today and went over this and made quite a few phone calls. Explained to everybody, you know, with the controls, we don't have to do the option 1 right now.
Yes.
You can do the controls without doing option 1.
And
I think that's part of the reason that the Library Advisory Board went with, or made a motion, or not a motion, but recommended Wadsworth, was because of the total package. But I think, like you said, presentations, control systems, it's easier to use, understandable, you know, everything about it was better.
My opinion, yes. My opinion was, and I just saw, if you want to pop up, that their software, just functionality, everything, like I said, I would have pushed to recommend CSO. Now that is separate from the lighting. So if we're gonna to be able to integrate the controls of the lighting, it seems that we could not do option 1 and possibly get quotes for lighting separately. And like I said, I would personally recommend, our recommendation from the Library Advisory Board is Wadsworth. My personal recommendation would be CSO, not without option 1, and then separately.
Because let's just say we go with control systems, we don't have to have option 1. You don't have to use the breakers to turn the lights on. If you take out option 1, you could still do it from the control system.
No, if we take out option 1.
No, if you take out, yeah.
They're still gonna have to
Option
use the
1's in there
breakers.
because of the
You would have to
breakers.
do it, you'd have to do it separately. You would have to do it as a,
More or less, yeah.
you would have to separately do the electrical work for the switches. If you took out option 1, you're still sitting in the exact same situation lighting wise. But you can't, you wouldn't have it, if you make that decision, you're not going to be able to have, or the decision is whether or not you need the lights integrated into the control system, is my opinion. That's your decision one way or the other. Do the lights need to be integrated into the control system to allow remote control of, and timing and whatnot of the lighting.
Can I comment on that?
Yeah, for sure.
So right now, staff has to turn on 36 breakers every single day when we get there and when we leave. Cleaning people have to turn on 36 breakers every day when they get there and every day when they leave. There is a controls box on the lighting system that hasn't worked for years. And when I say years, I mean I've been there almost 9 now. Hasn't worked the whole time I've been there because it needs a software update. Wadsworth Solutions is the company that originally did all of the equipment when that building was built. So they have a certified person who works with the kind of system that's already on our lighting system. That's why you'll see that all the other companies that bid, their pricing for the lighting controls was so much higher because they'd have to get somebody qualified to work with what's already over there, and Wadsworth already has that person. So they can make the existing system work rather than having to rebuild or build around it, which is what several other electricians had told us they thought would have to happen. The lighting controls will automatically turn the lights on, you know, half an hour before we open and turn them off half an hour after we close, and we won't have to mess with any of that every single day, which I think is relevant. Part of why the Library Advisory Board...
Let me stop you. I don't think anybody up here is thinking we should totally take it off forever. It was the point that you've got a $17,000 bid all the way down to $3,500 bid. So the point was is we could pull that and put it out for rebid and hopefully get it back down to a normal shot.
I
And not
understand
just
that, but
pull it
the
out.
Library Advisory Board took all that into account when they made this recommendation to the Township Board. And I don't discount Craig's personal opinion on this, but I guess I feel like if Craig and you wanted to voice these opinions, that should have happened at the Library Advisory Board meeting where the Library Advisory Board was making this recommendation, so that we would have this discussion prior to tonight. As of now, the Library Advisory Board recommends to you guys
Okay. and we're
Wadsworth for the
do you have a
controls.
question?
Yeah. I
And then,
get-
and you guys just decide on that, and if you don't want to do that, then you just say no, and we go back and do whatever. I mean, that's my understanding of how this whole recommendation to the Township Board works.
Okay, are you on the Library Advisory Board?
No.
Okay, Aaron, can you come up to the mic so we can talk to the Library Advisory Board? I'm not being disrespectful, but, you know, I'm kind of had enough of getting blasted by the library, you know, that we're not doing our job here.
Okay,
We're listening to
okay.
everything you're saying.
It'd be good to have a quote for the lights in a sense, because like, yeah, the fact that the lights are able to be done so cheap by Wadsworth makes it like, wow, what a great added benefit, you know, like CSO had probably a better presentation, you might say, of their widget, they might call it. You know, is it $16,000 better? No.
I have a question, though. I mean, Wadsworth's cheaper, but I thought I just heard Jody say Wadsworth installed it and it hasn't worked.
It's in 9 years, and that's what I was listening to as
So
well.
I'm wondering why we would go back with a company. Why can't they come and fix what
Yeah,
they
well-
installed and make it work?
Yeah, I was going to ask the same
Well,
question.
It needs a software update, and it needs at this point, it probably needs that box replaced because it's so old.
But for 9 years, why hasn't that come to this board? I didn't know
Well,
that.
We never asked for that to be fixed. We waited until we were doing controls to update it. We had
For
several-
9 years?
We had three electricians look at it.
Well,
And 3 electricians told us, we don't know what to do with this. You'd have to call this certified person, which would have cost us money to call them in the first place. So we just didn't worry about it. But now we have an opportunity to resolve it.
But
where we're at.
my point is, Jody, that I'm not interested in resolving it with someone who hasn't resolved it in 9 years and someone who put it in and it hasn't worked.
And Jody, and
So
Jody, with all
Yeah, I
due
don't-
respect,
yeah.
I mean, the Library Advisory Board, we appreciate everything they do. Nothing's being discounted. But it's not my job to go to the Library Advisory Board. They advise me on what to do, I investigate, we make a decision.
Yep. That's what
So I mean, don't feel like we're just,
advisory, right? Underline advisory.
And that's what, I wouldn't have anything that like I'm saying to be discounting anything from the Library Advisory Board's recommendation. I would just have, I have I would be remiss if I didn't say like what I felt and what I believed would be best for the library, for you, for overall best stewardship of these funds.
So I made a motion 2 meetings ago to go with CSO and then got voted no, which I kind of figured was going to happen based on all the numbers. The only, because Jody's the librarian and is so caring and meticulous in her management of the schedule, it's like, yeah, let's spend a couple extra bucks and get CSO because they have such more of a user-friendly system. She'll actually use it and maximize it and save the money. If she wasn't there, it'd be like, whatever, get the cheapest thing, because the Wadsworth doesn't seem like it's as user-friendly of an interface that anybody's really gonna do it. I'm sorry to say. I don't know. She will, but I don't think, if she was out for 2 weeks with an injury recently. And it was like, I don't know if anybody anywhere else is gonna really go into the Wadsworth system.
But to be
and use
honest
it.
with you, after talking with Rawlings today, what did he say? After about a year and a half, most people don't use the panel.
That's,
They don't
Right.
use the panel that you're probably spending $20,000 extra on.
which considering that.
He said they all,
Wadsworth,
and plus when people change, none of them know how to use it. So a lot of
CSO
what's
had
in
a better
here,
panel, but
a lot of what's in here is fluff too with this panel.
Mm-hmm,
We don't
Okay,
need a lot of it.
can I, back to the whole, when Wadsworth was asked to bid on this, were they informed that their system didn't work for 9 years? Why? I don't get that. Why are you interested in
'Cause I
having
didn't
a
know.
system that doesn't work? And then why can't they come back now and fix what they put in?
Well, first I'll say I wasn't there when the building was built. I didn't even know that
No,
Wadsworth.
I know not, please
I
don't
didn't
think
even,
I'm.
no, I'm
defending
not, I'm
you.
not defending that. I'm just saying, I didn't know that Wadsworth was the company that originally did the
Oh, I
work
see.
until Wadsworth came in to bid on the job and
I
wanted
see.
to do a walk around. That's when they told me that, and I had no idea. I mean,
I
I've
got
never
it.
read all those documents, so I didn't know who it
Right,
was.
right.
But again, we called electricians to look at that. I didn't even know it was Wadsworth in the first place, or maybe I would have asked to call
Okay.
I don't know, but
I get it.
When's the
now.
last
I
time you
get it.
changed the timer on a light switch in your house, It's like you set it and it just goes forever and it works perfectly, and then years later it doesn't, I think is like, sorry.
No, look, again, my perspective on this is, what I think the question is does the lighting system need to be integrated into the controls, or would have an electrician come in and install a light switch panel of some sort or multiple light switch panels? Would that suffice? Like I said, my opinion is you and the library are better served going that route and using CSO over, and I'm basing that off of what I believe, what Aaron's saying, just usability of the CSO seemed much more user-friendly than any other system.
And
I thought it was,
she'd maximize
I
its
don't
use,
disagree with that. I was impressed by CSO from the very start. That was when Paul and Al and I first started talking years ago. That's the first company that came and did a presentation to us. I've been impressed with them from the very beginning. They do all the ProMedica buildings. You can't discount, like if a company as big as ProMedica is working with a company like CSO, you can't discount that. But and the lighting is, obviously the lighting was an extra that we just added in there as part of the bid process as an option. Again, not necessarily a requirement, but an option. And we never anticipated that would necessarily be part of this bid. The HVAC controls is our main focus, definitely is what we most want to do. But as I said, I've had 3 electricians look at that panel. Nobody knows how to deal with the panel that's there. So it's going to cost significantly more. Should we decide at
yes.
some point to do the lighting controls, it's going to cost us significantly more money than what's in that bid
to do controls or just to,
for the lighting.
like, to do anything electrical out of there?
Right now, that panel, the entire panel of the breakers is running with that box attached to it. That timer box that's supposed to make those lights work is part of that breaker panel. So some of the people that have looked at it have said, we'd have to do a jump-off box, and then there's no place to put that box, and then we'd have to do this, and we'd have to do, and that's part of why one of those bids was what, $11,000 or something to do the lighting, because they'd have to do all kinds of electrical workarounds to make the existing panel, or redo the entire breaker box, which is outlandishly expensive. So, I mean, and again, I'm not an electrician, I don't know, but as I said, I've had 3 people look at it, none of them, including Kelch Electric, which is who's always, you know, that was some of our original electricians, and they don't know what to do with it as it stands. So, but again, it was an option 1. Certainly, we can decide not to go with the option regardless. And Wadsworth definitely wasn't the fanciest HVAC control system. But it's usable. It's
Yeah,
a,
they're
it's
fine,
a,
you know, they're
it's a web interface. I mean, truly, people can use it if they need to use it. It's not fancy. It doesn't have the bells and whistles, but do we need, I mean, we don't need bells and whistles. We need to be able to control the temperature in the rooms when the rooms are in use, and turn that down when the rooms aren't to maximize our efficiency. That's what our original goal was. Every one of those companies would provide us with that. So
Well,
that's,
I'm confused because you said that CSO was the most, everyone would provide you with that, and CSO was the most user-friendly.
Correct.
So I would, I mean, I'm just totally
5 minutes
confused.
of training versus 5 hours of training.
Well,
that's,
then why wouldn't
And
you
just
want to go with
usability.
CSO? I mean, that.
If option 1 wasn't in there, I think we would, ultimately.
that's why we were talking about
That's-
pulling out option 1 for now.
But it would be,
Right.
and not to remove option 1 because of exactly what Jody said.
36
It's-
breakers, not
it's
acceptable. Yeah.
That needs fixed. But if that is that fix, that it has to be lighting integrated into the controls, or instead, would a few light switch panels being wired into the library resolve that to us, you know what I mean? To a
yeah, but
sufficient
I
level.
don't think it's as simple as that, but again, I'm not an
And,
electrician, I don't know.
admittedly, same.
It's probably like it's going to be
And
9 more
it's-
years for no light
This
switches, right?
this doesn't integrate the lighting controls into the HVAC controls. There'll still be 2 completely separate things, but the lighting will work via controls as opposed to via us switching them all on and off. So, I mean, they are 2 separate things, and without an electrician to tell us, I mean, that's the part that's missing at this point.
Right.
Agreed.
So, and I hate to put this off longer, but I'd almost rather know that information before we decide on HVAC controls.
If it's.
I mean, I feel like this is
We already missed
confusing the issue.
We already
Like,
missed the energy saving of winter here at this point. So, I mean, I don't know.
I hate to drop one in favor of the other and then not be able to do the other ever because it's going to cost us too much money, and we didn't
Right.
necessarily plan to include that. That's one of the added options we added to this to see if we could afford to do it now as part of this package. So I guess that's kind of where it stands.
And
with
that's
that.
what, and that was my understanding, and maybe I didn't at the beginning communicate that, of like, I felt a lot of the library advisory board's recommendation was based off of incorporating option 1
You could say we're
that-
taking the second best option because it gets the
because it gets you both.
Yep.
And I understand that, and that's what I just don't know.
Got to save money. Like, saves us money. It's definitely great to. It's not like Wadsworth's unprofessional and doesn't provide the service. You know, I mean, just
Obviously.
CSO sort of knocked our doors off maybe a little more, but
Obviously, they don't provide the service if it hasn't been working for 9
so that's
years.
neither here nor
Does anybody have any more comments or questions?
Well, I'm,
for Aaron
I'm
or Jody?
still kind of confused because
I think our best bet's to table it at this point and do more investigation and bring it back at the next regular scheduled meeting.
What more investigation is needed? Is it just to get an idea of what it would cost to get the light switches put in?
how
Is
much
that
to get 36
to
light
get,
switches
like,
behind the library desk, right where your librarians are
Well,
working. Just-
nothing against Jody or the library advisory board, but it sounds like we need to get a professional electrician involved of what really is going on over there. I mean, nothing
Well, and I think
against
there
Jody,
has
but
been.
she's
Well,
trying to
she's
do
had
investigating.
3,
yeah.
and they don't
get
like
it.
that panel.
And
Now, are they
Nothing's
saying
accomplished,
that, for clarification, Jody, are they saying that
Who have you had go over there?
in terms of putting controls into that, or just light switches either way?
We never asked them for light switches because, I mean, it turns on, I don't know
'Cause that's how
they
it's
can
set up.
put,
It's
I
set
don't
up
know
to
how
be
they can put
controls.
light switches in the, again, I'm not.
Who have you had go over there,
I've
and
had
when?
Rich Zeiler look at it, I've had Kelch Electric look at it, and I
I mean,
had,
just recently though, or over the years?
well,
Done the same
Kelch
thing.
probably was 3-ish years ago.
Because-
Rich was in the last year.
Okay, because here's, I
And
mean,
then
we're
Mike
supposed to
Reed,
know these issues. That way, the board can delve into them. That's how we have to have it work. If there's an issue over there, you have to let the board know, myself, because I oversee maintenance, and we will delve into it. That way, we're
Okay.
not 9 years into something and we have issues like this.
well, if we couldn't make the lights work, then we certainly would have let you know, but we can make the lights work.
Yeah, but that's not how we want that building to operate. We need it to
Okay.
operate better than that, and
Well,
we
that's-
don't want to be,
Sounds like there's been turbulence also. Like as of, 2 weeks ago, the treasurer, we just got our positions assigned from, president, vice president, treasurer, all that stuff has been kind of just floating in the wind, I guess, for 6 to 9 months or a year or whatever since the previous crew all dropped or however that went. So we're just getting back together on a management structure and an advisory board, which I think will help moving forward. We can give you even like an itemized progress report every month if that would help or something. Library advisory board could do it directly with you if that would help,
yeah.
Can I just comment? I just, my personal opinion is, excuse me, I like the CSO project list far better than the Wadsworth. The Wadsworth goes back to 2003. I mean, really. I don't know, the CSO, just on paper, looked far more professional. And I am not in favor of a company that doesn't fix what's broken, just my opinion.
Well, like I said, my thought when we came in here was to approve the CSO control system without option one. That would be my recommendation, and then go from there after the fact.
How long are these bids good for?
I don't know.
I just don't want to table it and then have to rebid it, that's all I'm.
I don't know. Is there an end date on it?
Wonder if I should type in my phone how much to install a light switch,
it's not a-
How long did they extend it?
Well, right, probably not, right? 36 light switches. Right,
Was that this one? That's what I was trying to think. That's what I thought.
that's the thought, right? Do they have to go all the way 36?
We need to wait for Miss Tinery to come back here.
Right. Yeah, I think like my
So
little
these were
metaphor with the
30
light
days.
timer.
Get
'Cause,
this
like,
till January.
it sounds like
We don't
nobody
have
really
time
updates their
to extend
controls,
it.
right? Because like they were saying, Monroe Road Elementary, 20 years, and this other.
You okay?
Hey,
30 years.
guys, can we keep the public
Sorry,
can
yeah,
hear you in the microphone? So like I said, that was my thought process. I don't like the fact that we have a broken system for 9 years. I mean, the library's only, 14 years old? So the system lasted 5 years and it never got, and like I said, with the CSO, I think they're in line. That's what they do. That's all they do is controls. So,
Yeah, I agree. I think it's better served. I think it'll be better usability. I felt like they were, that it would, if you took out option one, I think that it would be a decently easy decision to say that the extra $4,000 would be justifiable. It's just going to be, can we get quotes in a timely fashion to get so that we're not just dragging out for forever a situation that shouldn't be that big of a deal to rectify, I would think.
I'll make a motion that we approve the CSL Control Systems of Ohio 4935 Haroon Road, Sylvania, Ohio, at the bid of $44,478 minus option 1.
I'll support.
Motion supported by Mr. Montry. Discussion.
Are,
So what's the plan?
that's what I was,
We'll put it out for bid this week.
do you,
Or look
do
at,
you have to bid? Or is that, are you able to get quotes on that?
we don't have to have a sealed bid. We can just get,
No, not, well,
it's, I mean, you
under
got
20, it
quotes
doesn't have to
for
be sealed.
under 20, so we'll move forward on it
within a
right
week?
away.
Okay.
Just call the roll, please.
Mr. Peroni?
Aye.
Mr. Montry?
Aye.
Ms. Tinnevery?
Aye.
Hirschberger votes aye.
The motion passed 4-0. Thank you guys for being here. Jody, I'm sorry I got upset, but we take this job up here seriously, and this is a lot of money, and we want what's best for our buildings. So I appreciate it. Okay, item 8F, rezone parcel number 5802-034-020-00 and a portion of 5802-034-018-00, Temperance Animal Hospital from C1 local business to C3 general business. And just so you know, we're absent 3 members. Would you like to proceed with 3 members being absent, or would you like to wait till we have a full board? Okay. Okay. Would you like to go over this one?
Sure. Well, as you have seen in your packet, the Planning Commission has voted to recommend approval. If I might just read the summary for the public, it's just as it's written in your packet. The intent is to construct a new hospital on the already C3 zone parcel to the west of those lands that were quoted, of the existing hospital parcel, and create the parking area on the parcel where the hospital currently is located. As well, for additional parking and to accommodate a larger structure, the portion of parcel number 5802-02-034-018-00 located to the south of the proposed hospital parcel and requested for rezoning will be split from the existing parcel and attached to the parcel to the north with Stearns Road frontage. While the remainder of the split parcel could stand alone, the intent is to attach the remaining portion to the parcel to the south to create one parcel. It should be noted, for ease in splitting and combining purposes, all subject parcels are under the same ownership. So I would make, and if you have any questions, oh, I thought Alan was here, but he's gone. I'll make a motion to approve the request from CLR Holding LLC to rezone from C1 local business to C3 general commercial, parcel number 5802-034-020-00, the location of Temperance Animal Hospital, and a portion of the parcel number 5802-034-018-00, located on the south side of Stearns Road, on the west side of Lewis Avenue, Temperance, Michigan, with the following conditions. Says that it is consistent with the township master plan goals and policies, as well as the mixed-use future land use designation. The subject parcels are adjacent to an existing C3 zone parcel fronting on Stearns Road. Should the rezoning be approved, the applicant will be required to combine the C3 portions and the C1 portion. It is supported by adequate utility and road infrastructure. The stated use, a reconstructed veterinary hospital clinic, clearly points to a plan for the property as opposed to a desire to increase the property's marketability, and redevelopment in the C3 zoning district will need to comply with the site and development standards of the township zoning ordinance, which include adherence to the site and architecture design manual and protective screening from residential uses.
Support. Motion is supported by Peroni. Discussion? Seeing none, could you call the roll, please?
Ms. Tinneberry?
Aye.
Mr. Peroni?
Aye.
Mr. Montry?
Aye.
Hirschberger votes aye.
Okay, and the motion passed 4-0. Thank you. Look forward to it.
For sure.
Okay, item 9, comments from the public. Comments limited to 5 minutes for each individual. Okay, seeing none. Comments from township board members. Ms. Tinneberry?
Yes, well, as you might figure, the financial report tonight showed a $3.1 million fund balance. In my opinion, as a trustee, that exceeds what we need to have in there. We continue every year during budgeting, talk about the slowdown and talk about our revenues are going to decrease, and it's all sounding like Chicken Little or Eeyore or one of those fabled characters from our childhood. I believe that we have sufficient funds to put forward money for the capital improvement plan and set aside money that has been needed for years. And I would hope that this board would seriously consider that idea. And to me, it's hoarding money. To me, we don't need $3 million. The reason for the fund balance is if our revenue dries up, we have money to pay our bills for 3 months or whatever. This is nearly a year. Seriously, unless the Lord returns and we are on our way out the door, do you think our revenue is going to dry up from the state or whatever? It just doesn't make sense to me. Good planning is good planning, and I'm going to keep preaching, same old sermon. Thanks.
Mr. Montry?
I guess I'll just say how much I appreciate the Library Advisory Board, and that I would hope that any motion made that would possibly be contrary to their recommendations isn't any sort of discreditation of them or anything negative toward them at all. And just rather, I think it's funny, you can't win for anything. If your food, you move forward on too much stuff, you rubber stamping everything, and if you're not, then you're not taking into consideration recommendations like that. But I think it shows that this board isn't just rubber stamping anything, and that we're putting time into really digging in and trying to make the best decisions that we know how. And I think that the decision tonight, I believe fully, will serve our librarian and our library better than any other decision we could have made. That's really all I have.
Ms. Hirschberg?
Just want to remind everyone that the applications for absentee ballots have gone out. We do not have the ballots yet, but the applications have gone out. This is a closed primary, which means when you get that application, you must choose which ballot you want. Now, the application is a state application, so it says Republican, Democrat, and then ballot with just proposals. We do not have a ballot with just a proposal in Bedford Township. So you must choose one or the other, or you can choose not to vote in this election. But we're getting a lot of applications back where no one has chose which ballot they want. So I just want to remind people, if you are filling out that application, make sure you choose. If you want an application, you can call our office and we can get one out in the mail for you. And that's all I have.
Okay. This Friday, any business person interested in the summit this Friday, it's at Bedford Hills Golf Club from 11:30 till 1. Lunch will be provided. CEO of ProMedica, Randy Oster, will be speaking there. Congressman Tim Walberg will be giving a brief update, and so will Dave Thompson on the new water agreement. We'll be giving a brief update. I'm excited about that. A lot going. I think we have over 100 and plus people attending already. So if you're interested, there's 25 more spots. But very excited about that. Some good stuff. A lot of activity on Secor and Stearns. The road was closed due to an emergency yesterday. The road was undermined when they were boring underneath it. So they had to emergency close it today and do the repairs. I'm not sure when that will reopen. We'll be giving them a call tomorrow. So be patient with that, and but the Hampton Manor's moving along. That's the going in between the center of the property, and then the Tractor Supply will be breaking ground very soon, probably next week, on the property off Secor Road. That's the entrance for the Tractor Supply. Actually, there's a Charlie Mop sign there, but that's actually the entrance for it. So be patient with all that construction traffic over there. Please take your time and go slow through there. There's a lot of people working close to the edge of the road. And in Stonegate Subdivision, I'm excited that that special assessment district is moving forward. The neighborhood, I just moved into the neighborhood last year, and it's a perfect neighborhood that hasn't been touched in 22 years roughly. And it's not, the worst road in the township, but it's not one of the best. And it's at that point to where in another 5 to 7 years, you've seen it was $2,200 a house. I was told by the engineers in 5 to 7 years, it could be a $7,000 house fix. There are a lot of neighborhoods in this township right now that are at that 20 to 25 year mark. If your road hasn't been touched in 20 to 25 years as far as crack seals or anything like that, please call Trudy's office. She handles the SADs, does a really good job with them. Get in touch with her and find out how this can be done. I worked with about 7 people in my neighborhood. We all worked together. We all shared the responsibility and kind of knocking on doors, and it really wasn't that big of a deal. It took a lot of time and effort, and they're getting really creative with our road. They're grinding out the first 3 feet on each side of the road, and then they're going to put a 1-inch cap over the whole thing. So we'll have a brand new road for $2,200 a house, and then they're fixing 14 bad drains. Don't let your roads go. The road commission's not coming down to fix your neighborhood road. They're not coming down to do crack seals. And that's the other thing our township has done where we're moving forward. If you do an SAD, we're going to be doing crack seals on the SAD roads that put the money forth and do this. So we have done that the last couple of years, and I look to keep doing that. So the snow removal was a huge success. We were done with all 127 neighborhoods by 2 o'clock. We had a couple mailboxes knocked down. We messed up a few yards, but we're learning. If your yard was damaged or your mailbox was knocked down, give me a call. But just be patient. I know when the snow plows drive by your neighborhood after you just plowed it and they push all the snow right back in your driveway, there's not much we can really do. I mean, it's kind of how, but just know if you wait a little bit, the snow plow will be down the road within the first 6 to 8 hours. So if you want to wait to do your driveway and then do it after we plow it, you might not have to do that road edge again. So other than that, if we have no more comments, we stand adjourned.